You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. You're in the sweet spot, baby. You're in the sweet spot, girl. You're in the sweet spot, darling. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. It's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world.
Welcome to the Sweet Spot Podcast. My name is Lynn, your host, and Ken's my co-host. Ken, what's going on?
Oh, Lynn, it is going. I'm so happy to be here. Looking forward to this episode. It's going to be another great one.
Episode 334.
334! Oh my gosh, we didn't, I'm looking for 345 just because the sequence of numbers, but, 334 is okay.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
By the end of the year. Ken and I are both former Disneyland Custodial cast members, and we talk Disneyland. But don't just skip through this introduction. There's always important stuff we say, and don't skip through the end, because there's always fun stuff that we talk about. But
yeah,
we also have our books online on our website, thesweetspot.com. You can get both books together, or you can buy one individually, but they are signed by both of us. We'll personalize it if you send me an email to thesweetspot@gmail.com and say, I just purchased a book. Can you say to Joey or whatever? So you can do that. They're on Kindle, both of them. First one's on audiobook, wherever you find audio. We're working on the second one. It should be done this summer. Anything else? Oh, yeah, Patreon. So we have a Patreon where if you want to help support the show, it always helps us because things keep going up and up, and we definitely need the help, and we appreciate the help that we do receive. But we have a thing where we put out one bonus episode per month. It's just Ken and I discussing a topic. We may have a guest here and there on there, but it's usually just Ken and I. And we just take a topic, we just discuss it and have fun with it. It's very casual, and you get that as a bonus. And then you also get to join us for our current events that we do once a month. We do them live, where you can interact with us through chat, and we'll try to incorporate your comments into the discussion at the time that we're recording. So it's a lot of fun. We've had people join in the past, and they really enjoyed it. So
yeah, you're going to hear that with this episode.
Yeah, for sure. And then you can join that at Patreon and search The Sweet Spot, or you can go to our website, thesweetspot.com, and you can click on the banner there and join. If you don't want to do Patreon for whatever reason, there's a link on there to send so it's $5 or more per month. So whatever you want to give, if you want to give more, that's great. But you can give $5 or more, and you can join the Patreon. There are people that give just $1 a month. It's just because they want to help. They probably, and that's totally fine. Every little bit helps, and we truly appreciate it. So speaking of that, we have one person upgraded their pledges. That's Connie Marina. I want to thank Connie.
Yay!
She's been a long-time follower of our show, and has been to a couple meetups. I believe it's been a couple. I remember specifically at one, but I think it may have been more than one. And then we have a brand new one, Brian Crawford.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. So the bonus episode I was talking about, it usually comes around the 20th, but this month it might be a little bit later. We have an event that I'm going to mention right now that kind of is delaying some things. But we're going to be at the Disneyland Show and Sell. It's like a convention type expo, I guess, a small scale, but not real small, but it's smaller. It's not like D23.
It's not like a week-long thing.
No, it's just one day. It's like I think it's from 9 to 5 or 10 to 5. And we will be there. Ken and I will both be there signing our books. We will have buttons for our listeners that show up, say you listen to the podcast. And we'd love to just chat with you and say hi. And come on
we'd
by.
love to meet you. Come on by. Buy some books. Bring books you already bought. If you want them signed and personalized, we'll
sign anything.
We'll sign them. So, well, I don't know. I have to talk to my wife about that. I don't know if I'll sign anything, but
right. Almost anything.
Almost anything. No, I won't sign any blank checks though.
No.
So these are really fun. If you've ever been to them, you know that. If you've never been, you really should check it out at least once. And why not make it this time?
And you never know who shows up to these, so.
Yeah, you bump into literally you can run right into Disney legends.
Yeah, Imagineers.
And then if you do that, you might break one of their hips. But so don't actually run right into them. Right. You can see them there.
Right. Also, this is very short notice, but this comes out if you listen right away, and you're going to be at Disneyland on the 14th of. Actually, be there in the evening of the 13th. Or the 14th all day.
La-di-da.
Yeah. I will be there in the parks. So reach out to me through social media. You can even email me if you want, but that might be a slower way to reach me. But you can, and also you can call me. Here's my phone number. No, just kidding. And then you can also find me on social media through Instagram's one that I'm going to be utilizing a lot during this weekend, and Twitter. So those two. And you can follow me, Lynn Sweep Spot, at Twitter, or The Sweep Spot on Instagram. And I'll have some buttons too, so if you're not able to make it to Disneyland, but you're in the parks one of those days, I'll have buttons on hand. So, all right.
That's a lot of information. Anything else before we explain what the main topic is tonight?
No, I think we covered it all. But Ken, who's going to be joining us?
Well, we're having a return guest. We actually had him on sometime before, and judging by downloads, it was a very, very popular episode.
Yeah.
So we're having my friend Rick West back, and he's if you don't know who he is, he for many years he did a publication and a web thing called Theme Park Adventure. Started out as a print publication, but moved to the web. You might have seen the Pirates of the Caribbean book that they put out. It was just amazing. But he eventually became a show writer for themed entertainment experiences and stuff like that. But he's a big Disneyland fan like us, and he actually was a ride operator in the late 80s. He'll explain all that. But we're just going to kind of talk about the changing conditions of theme park design and operation. Some of it's going to sound kind of curmudgeonly, like we're three old guys who've been around too long, because sometimes change is hard, but it does, you might identify with some of those gripes, but eventually the talk overall is positive. So it's not, you might hear some negativity, but it'll pick up.
Yeah, some good stuff. So.
Yeah, and he's currently the co-founder and creative director of Midsummer Scream, and he'll explain that. If you like scary stuff, if you like Halloween at all, scary movies, Haunted Mansion, yes, then Midsummer Scream is something you should be familiar with. But he'll explain all that. But I think it's going to be a pretty good discussion. So listen in. I think you might identify with a lot of what he's been going through.
All right. Sounds good. Let's get into it. Now we're going to have the current events. Ken, what do you have for us?
Well, Lynn, I've got our Patreon supporters who are joining us, at least some of them are, for chat again. So you're going to monitor the chat room and bring us some of their comments.
Yes.
And I have invited them, by the way, to hearken back to our previous current events if they want to comment at all on what's going on with Tarzan's Treehouse or Downtown Disney, the Pixar theme going on at the Paradise Pier Hotel, the grad night reunion party, and the return of nighttime entertainment to the park, to both parks, I should say. But so if they want to submit their statements on that, they certainly can. But for this edition of Current Events, we have a story straight from Laughing Place that says Disneyland introduces new Doctor Strange web tech enhancements for Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure. This is a story dated May 6th, and it says the Disney Parks blog has shared that guests to Avengers Campus at Disney California Adventure can improve their scores aboard the Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure attraction, with a new Doctor Strange-inspired Mystic Amplifier web tech band released that will allow players to further enhance and customize their experience with its additional powers. Now, by the way, they mentioned that this was on the Disney Parks blog. I didn't see it. I only go through the Disneyland Resort tagged entries. So they forgot to tag it with Disneyland Resort, and I don't have time to go through all the entries on there. So I don't have a link. I don't have a link for that. But I do have a link to the Laughing Place story. So
good.
Yeah, so Web Slingers is getting a little enhancement, kind of tied into the Doctor Strange movie that's coming out, or that is already out, I should say. According to the story, some of the web tech items were designed by Peter Parker himself, and some by Harley Keener. Regardless of where they came from, they are designed to help guests enhance their web slinging abilities aboard the attraction. The new Mystic Amplifier piece has a story of its own, having been invented by Zelma Stanton. And according to its story, by hacking into this Mystic Amplifier, even novices in the mystic arts can harness the energy of other dimensions to conjure magical ruins and shields. When on the Web Slingers attraction, the mystic bands activate to ensnare targets. On the attraction, when paired in ride mode, the various web tech bands add electrodynamic webs to your powers and repulsor blasts and other skills, depending on which band you purchase. Backed by Stark Enterprises, bands can also attach to repulsors. Available in red for Iron Man and blue for Rescue, they come in 3 training spheres, which can levitate above the repulsor cannon in play mode.
Oh boy.
Yeah, by the way, I recognize these words as English, but I have no idea what they mean.
Yeah.
On the attraction in ride mode, it gives riders repulsor blasts instead of shooting spider webs. As with the other bands, the new Doctor Strange web tech accessory can still be used when not in the park as a toy. So they're not going to say, hey, you can't use that once you leave here. No, you know.
Well.
So Web Slingers, y'all.
Yeah.
Nice interactive attraction. So
I think that was really confusing, and that kind of goes with what John was saying. He said I couldn't figure out what I was doing on Web Slingers. Maybe I'm just old. Don't know all these Marvel characters.
Yeah, it might be one of those things where we have to bring a toddler on with you so that a toddler can show you how it all works, and yeah.
Keeping Walt in Disney. This is funny. The more I hear about web tech, the more I just want to ride on the Mark Twain.
They give you for the Mark Twain. They give you an interactive cigar.
That is so true, Brian. Wow. Yeah.
An interactive cigar or a pipe or whatever items he smoked. Well, moving on from the fictional, unless anyone wants to add anything, in which they certainly can. I can always harken back to a previous story.
Yeah.
They do have something new to see at Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. And that is that Frederick Douglass is honored at Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. So Laughing Place reports as of May 6th. By the way, for anyone listening, as always, these stories will be linked at our current events show notes portion of our official website, thesweepspot.com. So be sure to check out our website, bookmark it, visit it multiple times per day. But that's where all these stories are, so you'll be able to click through and read them in their entirety. But as they report, this new installation celebrates the relationship between the two distinguished patriots, and by that they mean Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, by adding a bust and portrait of Frederick Douglass near the existing bust and portrait of Abraham Lincoln in the lobby of the Opera House, as well as a framed copy of a U.S. Department of the Interior letter recognizing Douglass as a free man. Can you imagine, needing a letter from the federal government that recognizes that you're not enslaved? I mean,
hard to believe that happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, it's just like, what? Wow. That's just the story of the two leaders and their work together is highlighted between the two busts. So, there's a little piece of history there that if you are in the park, you can take, especially take your children, your grandchildren, and point this out to them and say, it really wasn't even all that long ago if you think about it.
Yeah.
Just the realities of all that.
Let's see.
Well,
have any comments here?
Yeah, let's. I'm glad the Lincoln show is still there. Over the years they've talked about taking it out. I mean, let's be realistic. If they took that out, they'd probably put a shop or restaurant there. I mean,
Yeah.
They can't really squeeze in a major attraction, so they would probably do that.
I feel like sometimes with things like that, they only keep it for the fans. It's not like they.
It's too. It gets too much negativity when they take it out. So they don't bother. It's just like easier just to leave it there. And I mean, we've had it wasn't all that long ago we had Josh Shipley on the show, and he talked about one of the enhancements they did to that.
Yeah.
And people would kind of question, well, why are they doing that? And it's because it keeps it there longer. A lot of that stuff, there was risks of it being taken away, just kind of like with the treehouse. There was a risk of the tree being torn out.
But anyway. I think it's important to have. For one, it was, important to Walt.
Yes.
And that's probably the number one thing. But then also it's history, and Walt wanted the park to be a place where you have fun and learn, and that's just one of the things that you can do to learn. Keeping Walt and Disney said, I'm glad the Lincoln show is still there too. Important part of Disneyland World's Fair history. I think this new edition honoring Douglas will get more people to check out the Opera House.
Yeah, they should do that. Hopefully so. Yeah. And I always like getting live feedback from our Patreon supporters. So if anyone's listening, sounds like fun to join in, join up. And next time around, we would love to have you join in on the chat and get your comments on these stories.
Yeah, we have some more comments. John said, not everyone wants exploding attractions. And Christine said, they know all us older fans would riot.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, there does need to be a mix of the attractions.
Yeah.
If everything is you better hold on, and there's going to be explosions and drops, and you've got to save the world, and it's like, hey, I'm on vacation. Why do I have to save the universe? I'm on vacation. I don't want to have to save the universe.
Why is there always problems? Why is something always going?
Something's always something goes drastically wrong. Star Tours was one of the first attractions to do, the original Star Tours was one of the first attractions to do that, where it's like, it's not just smooth sailing. It's like, this is what we're going to do, but then something goes terribly wrong, and you're off on another adventure than the one promised. But that is, it's one of those attractions where you can go and sit and see a show, and it's historical, both nationally historical as well as historical to the evolution of Disneyland. So that is something to see. If you haven't seen it lately, next time you go, take a look.
Yeah, it always makes me happy when they add things in there. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let's go back to the Avengers stuff. And Laughing Place reports, as of May 6th, America Chavez and the Scarlet Witch from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness arrive at Avengers Campus. So, of course, when there is a new Marvel movie, the characters are showing up at the Avengers Campus. So that's what's going on here. And as they say, Marvel fans everywhere have been looking forward to the release of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is now in theaters. The Disney park has found a way to join in on the celebration. If you're at a Disney California event, let me reread that. If you're at Disney California Adventure Park, you will want to visit Avengers Campus. For a limited time, you can have an encounter with America Chavez and journey into the mystical side of things with the Scarlet Witch.
Okay.
Okay, I know my son wants to go see the movie.
Yeah. We're going on Sunday.
All right.
Yeah, it's good. I think that's kind of neat how they've incorporated, even from the shows on Disney Plus, they've had characters on there like Moon Knight. That's what they should be doing, and I'm glad they are. But
that's exactly what they should be doing. That's why they built that area.
Right.
So they have a dedicated place where it's kind of like when they opened Toontown. It's like, if all else fails, if somebody wants to see Mickey Mouse, they know they can see him if they go to Toontown. And if somebody wants to see some Marvel characters, they know they can see them if they go to Avengers Campus. So, it's,
A few comments here. Keeping Walt at Disney said, who? But then...
yes, exactly.
John said, am I the only one who doesn't know most of these Marvel characters?
No, you're not.
No, that's what Brian said. No, you're not.
I told my son, I said, well, we can go see that movie. And I'm like, I'm not much knowledgeable about, everything. I mean, we went and saw the most recent Spider-Man movie. And my son explained to me, well, here are the few things you need to know.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, but, yeah.
All right. Cool.
Well, let's go across the street. From the Orange County Register, Brady McDonald reports, Disneyland's House of the Future inspires retro-futuristic hotel suite with theme park views. And this is the Hojo. So this is, as he says, Disneyland visitors who always dreamed of living like the Jetsons and Monsanto's House of the Future will soon be able to spend the night in a hotel suite that pays tribute to Tomorrowland's mid-century modern masterpiece. The new House of the Future Retro Suite will open this summer at the Howard Johnson Anaheim Hotel across the street from the resort. The Hojo Hofu Suite, see what he did there? Hojo Hofu Suite draws inspiration from the Monsanto House of the Future that was located at the Tomorrowland entrance from 1957 to 1967. Howard Johnson's new retro-futuristic House of the Future suite features multi-paned windows and offer views of Disneyland's monorail with the Matterhorn bobsled's peak visible in the distance. A modern flat-screen television mounted to the wall in the House of the Future suite mimics the curved frame of a 1950s cathode ray TV. Mid-century style seating by Modernica and Herman Miller decorative panels by Modular Arts, and period lighting by Restoration Hardware complete the space age look. Custom art by Southern California retro artist Shag, depicting a familial scene in the House of the Future's living room, hangs on the wall of the new suite. The newly renovated Howard Johnson Anaheim Hotel retains the design aesthetic of mid-century modern architect William L. Perrier. Now I'm pulling a Lynn Barron. But anyone who knows that name, I'm sorry. With a futuristic lobby, vaulted ceilings, and a barrel arch roofline. The refresh rooms take design cues from George Nelson's Marshmallow Sofa, Eero Saarinen's pedestal table, and Ern's desk chairs. The style icons of the 1950s and 1960s interior decor. So if you want to go retro, there you go. I do think this is the kind of thing, and this is
pretty cool.
This is pretty cool. And if I owned a hotel around, adjacent to the resort, I would be hiring ex-Imagineers to make rooms that are evocative of things, whether they are past or present at the resort.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine Rainbow Caverns, something that's kind of, decorated to pay tribute to Rainbow Caverns or the Country Bear Playhouse.
Yeah, the bears come alive at night and wake you up in the morning. It's time to get up, Ken.
But just, it doesn't have to actually look like the actual attraction.
Right,
but,
right.
I mean,
I know what you're saying.
But it's evocative of it, Yeah, so you can even play the Swiska polka to wake you up every morning, in the tree and do.
Yeah. So, and John said it's now booked for the next 20 years.
Yeah, it should be.
Brian says this is cool. Are you staying there, Lynn? I know you dig the Hojo. So, I'm not staying in the suite, but I will be staying there. Yeah, my next venture. And speaking of Hojo, just a real quick plug. We have a banner on our website, sweetspot.com, and you can click on that, and you'll get a discount when you book with them. By clicking on that link, it'll give you the discount rates. So it's really cool. I think it's close. It's about a 5-10 minute walk, depending on how fast you walk. It's not bad, and the prices are pretty decent, and I think it's really nice. So they have a cool pool area. So if your kids or you like to play in it, it's mostly for kids, like a play area.
I've been at the pool because we went and we met up with someone that my wife knows from out of town while they were staying there.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean the hotel is clearly reaching out to Disney fans, including fans of Disneyland Past. So, which is a smart thing to do because of where they're located. So, and like I said, other hotels should be doing the same thing, because Disney's not, Disney either just doesn't have the interest or the time or whatever. I mean, if they wanted to, they could specialize every single room of the Disneyland hotel, but they're not going to do that.
Right.
I mean, they'll have some pictures and paintings and stuff like that, but to make something that where someone's going to say, I want to stay in room number whatever because I know it's
haunted. No,
it's like it's evocative of the Haunted Mansion,
right. That's what I mean.
Or the old Tom Sawyer Island or whatever,
Adventure through Inner Space.
And that would be a good one.
Yeah.
I could make all kinds of jokes about Adventure Through Inner Space in a hotel room, but never mind.
America sings.
So
I like this subject. Now it's making me think of all these attractions that aren't there anymore. Especially aren't there because, they're going on the House of the Future. It's not there. It's kind of making me think about all the stuff that they could.
Well, what if Universal did the same thing? They got a hotel right there. What if Universal did the same thing for like a Back to the Future?
Oh, that would be awesome.
I mean, think about that. They could do a 50s retro. I mean, these are great. I like these ideas.
John, a room themed to the original parking lot. You guys have
That
some
would be that would be good. You know, yeah,
funny
the
comments.
motorboat cruise, or yeah. Uh,
The Golden Zephyr. Um,
they could do
Golden
one
Dream.
theme to the canoes. They could just flood the room.
Oh no. This can go on and
Uh,
on. No, but like a Big Thunder, like a Western Frontierland type room.
yeah. This here's the wildest bathroom in the wilderness.
Oh, I think there's so much potential. I hope they do branch out, and if they don't, I think other hotels should.
Yeah.
All right,
Now then,
moving
keep
on.
your shower curtain inside the shower, and, until the shower comes to a complete stop.
Yes.
Anyway, yes. Okay. Well, speaking of hotels, Marla Jo Fisher reported in the Orange County Register
Yeah.
that Disneyland Hotel pays $100,000 to settle lawsuit by guest bitten by bed bugs. I guess they didn't like the room that was themed to a Bug's Life, Bug's Land. But the Disneyland Hotel has paid $100,000 to settle a 2018 lawsuit alleging that a guest was bitten by bed bugs, according to her lawyer and Disney.
Wow.
So I guess it wasn't a private. I guess it wasn't a sealed settlement or anything. Ivy Eldridge of Los Angeles reported being bitten by bed bugs during a 2-day stay at the Disneyland Hotel in April 2018. And she says that Disney tried to charge her extra for the enhanced experience. No, I added that part. And they call that interactive. No, and sustained a painful rash afterwards, according to Encino attorney Brian Virage, who specializes in suing hotels over bed bugs.
Oh.
The suit alleged that the hotel didn't do enough to keep the insects away. Even luxury hotels can become infested occasionally, leading to every traveler's nightmare when they unwittingly bring the bugs home on luggage or clothes. Sleep tight and don't let the bed bugs bite. So,
Yes, they did.
they paid her $100,000. That's basically just refunding the cost of her stay there.
And her lawyer.
Yes, covering her lawyer fees and the cost of the 2-night stay there,
Right.
or the 2-day stay there.
Broke even.
Probably one night.
Yeah. All right.
Interesting. I wonder what they did to get rid of them all, or maybe they didn't.
Let's see if we have
Laughing
any
Place
comments
also.
here.
Oh yes. Go ahead.
Not yet on that. At least referring to that topic. Okay. Going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No comments. No comment. Okay.
Not yet.
No comment. All right. Well, here's something that I kind of wish we had when I was still working at the resort. Disneyland is working to expand the free Aspire education program to Cal State Fullerton and Fullerton College. This is from Brady McDonald at the Orange County Register. Now, Cal State Fullerton, obviously, is a state university, 4-year university. That's where I went. It's not a real school. No. And Fullerton College is a community college. Yes, so Fullerton has a community college, and it has a state university. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
as it says here, and they're close to Disneyland, so a lot of Disneyland cast members attend classes there. It says the $150 million Disney Aspire program that has allowed thousands of Disneyland employees to get a free college education while taking courses online. Okay, that's a key word there. They were taking the courses online. Has always lacked one key thing: in-person classes. Now, Disneyland is in the process with Cal State University Fullerton and Fullerton College to offer free in-person education to Disneyland hourly employees through Disney's Aspire program. The Aspire program covers 100% of tuition, fees, and books at network schools for full-time and part-time hourly Disneyland cast members. Wow.
Yeah.
that creates an incentive not to quit or get fired.
Right.
You're like,
Wow.
I gotta stay here as long as they're paying for this. Disneyland currently has 4,000 employees enrolled in the Aspire program.
Wow.
But the thing is, it's not just it also includes technical programs.
Yeah.
So yeah, uh, other large corporations have similar programs like Disney Aspire. Papa John's offers free tuition to Purdue University Global for 20,000 corporate employees. Starbucks provides full tuition coverage for employees pursuing a bachelor's degree at Arizona State University's online program. So it's just one of those things that it would have been so cool to have while I was going there. Would have saved a lot of money.
Yeah. Christine was saying, nice perk. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people.
It's not as good as the holiday party, though. I'm not just kidding.
Yeah.
You got to have trade-offs, I guess. But
there must be some benefit to them.
But she's right. That's a very nice perk.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it does is it creates an incentive for people to work there. See,
Yeah.
A lot of companies will do whatever they can to rather than raising wages. Because if you raise wages, there's a whole lot of other things that go along with that. A lot of people. So some jobs, your wages are like half of the cost of all the other things that the employer pays into that you don't see. These are they're hidden expenses to you, but your employer covers them. Might be as much as the wages they're paying you. So in other words, you quote unquote cost them twice as much as you think, but what supposedly it's worth it to them because of your work product. So it's less expensive in the long run for these companies to offer these programs than to raise wages more, because they could just raise wages more and people can take that money and pay for their own college, how they want to. But yeah, so it's, the company keeps more control over the situation this way. And so it's preferable to raising wages more to the company. But on the other hand, it also, they want a trained workforce. Like I said, some of it is technical programs. So all the facilities people, they want them trained in certain things, or the people working in the offices, they want them to be educated with certain things. So that's all part of what's going on there.
Very good.
Well, Mice Chat had an update from Dusty Sage, dated May 2nd, called Disneyland Update. More entertainment, more construction, more reservations. And as he says, there's almost too much Disneyland news for 1 week. But for those of you who live and breathe Disney, you'll be in heaven today. More entertainment opens during the daytime. Space Mountain news from both sides of the world. Major changes on the way to downtown Disney and the Disneyland hotels. More on Tarzan's Treehouse. Plus characters, construction, and more. So that's how he intros it. And he kicks it off by saying it's been a full year since Disneyland reopened, and we are just now at the point where almost everything has returned. The kennels are still closed, as well as the Star Wars launch bay. The Hyperion remains dark, and some services at the hotels remain closed. But overall, the resort finally feels fully open. There's a certain amount of joy that returned with seeing characters take the hand of a child, or a guest running up to hug Mickey. Lots of entertainment returned recently as well. So if you want to click through for the full update on that, what do our Patreon chat room people have to say about any of this that we've talked about?
Nothing.
Nothing? Absolutely nothing?
Not about the last story here.
Well, about any of the stuff we've talked about,
Yeah.
this time around or the previous episode. I mean,
Brian
there's a lot going on.
says, a dark Hyperion is so sad to me. My daughter was a performer at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, they've got this nice venue, and they're not using it. I mean, that's like prime real estate right there.
Right. Christine said, yeah, I love the entertainment. It's definitely noticed when it's not there. Yeah.
Yes, definitely makes a difference. Do you have any refurbishments to talk about, Lynn?
I do. Let's see. So a lot of the same ones, but we'll just keep reminding everyone. Pirates, Blue Bayou, and Pieces of 8 are down, and there's no return date. Rumor is early July, so I haven't heard anything yet. The calendar only goes up to like mid-June, so Subs, no return date, but there's a rumor that it could come back the end of this month.
Yeah, they've been working on it.
Treehouse, as we know, no return date, nothing has really been said on what they're definitely going to be doing. Then Animation Academy is down, but it will return on the 27th of this month. Golden's,
Phew.
yeah, that's perfect because you need that one, especially in the summer. Golden Zephyr, I know everyone's upset, but it will return on the 20th.
Good.
I can't believe that ride's still there. Mickey's PhilharMagic is return on the 27th. So that's all I have there. Let's see if we have any comments about this. John said, I would hope they start demolishing Launch Bay soon. John said, I heard Tomorrowland Redo is going to be announced soon.
Yeah, maybe at D23 they'll
That's what
make an
everyone's
announcement.
speculating, but I don't know yet. Well, Christine said, agree, John. It makes me sad to see the wasted buildings. There really is. There's at least 2 buildings that are not being used right now. It's the Magic Eye Theater and the Innovations Launch Bay building.
Yeah. You kind of wonder if, are they going to make any use of the Magic Eye Theater? Are they going to tear it out? Maybe put the extended Space Mountain queue there? I mean, there's
not much they can do with that space underneath there, but they could do another theater show. And I think theater shows are good to have.
Definitely. Just like we said with Lincoln.
Yeah, they give time for people to sit down and, we discussed a little bit about this in the show tonight, in our main topic, a little bit about that.
Yeah. You'll have to keep listening, folks.
Let's see, we have more. Brian said that would be the best news, John. I'm still waiting for this. Christine said, dang, not going to be able to ride the Zephyr. So, yeah.
Well, if you want to get your comments read on the show, there's 2 ways. You can email us something at thesweepspot@gmail.com, but of course that won't be live, and it has to be something that we can bring up. Or you can be one of our Patreons that supports the show and join us when we record the current events. We usually record them just mere hours before the podcast hits the web.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have certain occasions like this time where we record them early. So if you're wondering why we haven't brought up a topic that, late breaking big news, that's why. Because we recorded this early.
And the reason,
for reasons.
Yeah, the reason we're doing that is because we are going to be at the Disneyana show and sale convention or whatever on Sunday the 15th. So but this releases, you'll still have a few days before that to go if you still want to. There's information on our website. There's a banner on our website up there. You click on it and it'll give you all the information you need. But I think it's only like $5 or $10 to go in, and we'll be there signing our books and everything. So
yeah. Good plug in there. I would, speaking of plugs, you know what's coming.
we do.
Get excited. Start planning your next Disney getaway trip. But to do that, you need some help because a lot of things keep changing. It's hard to keep up on what's happening. There's a lot of reservations needed.
Yeah.
Take out the stress and the complication. Contact Concierge. Our good friends at Concierge. They're such good friends that Lynn's now one of them.
Yeah.
So Concierge it's like concierge and mousierge put together. So Concierge is CONCIEARS.com. Go to concierge.com, check it out, because you want to start booking your next Disney getaway vacation. They will handle a lot of this, a lot of the particulars. They'll get to know what it is that you want to do. Whether, do you want to go to Walt Disney World? Do you want to go on a cruise? Do you want to do Adventures by Disney? Go to Disney's Aulani in Hawaii, maybe Disneyland. Whatever Disney destination you want to do, that's what Concierge specializes in. It's not some big travel agency that doesn't know Disney. No, that's what they know is Disney. So there are magical vacation planning partners. CONCIEARS.com. Book with them. Book a package with them. Like a week on the cruise or hotel stay or theme park tickets together. Do a package. Tell them the Sweet Spot sent you, and you get a special gift. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's not going to add any expense to your vacation. So it's just going to make things a lot easier on you. So go ahead and go with Concierge.
That sounds good. All right. Thanks a lot, Ken.
Hello, everyone. This is Eric Johnson with Concierge, and welcome to the D180. While Ken and Lynn cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe, and we do it in 180 seconds. Let's jump right in. We begin our adventure this week in the Walt Disney World Resort, where Epcot's renovation continues. Newly posted art shows off the concept for the central neighborhood of World Celebration. The area will feature something we have never really seen in the area: ample shade and plant life. Multiple gardens will change throughout the year to match festival seasons. The central planter will be surrounded by Epcot's iconic 5-ring logo. The logo will be part of an elaborate light show that plays each night. The other component of said light show is a returning favorite, Lit Pavement. Now hold your enthusiasm for a minute. This is a super exciting tribute. In case you didn't know, for many years the pavement in this area had colorful fiber optics embedded in the pavement. At night, the walkway would come alive with multicolored movement. It was a super fun way to end your night walking towards Spaceship Earth with the lights twinkling under. It was a super fun way to end your night walking towards Spaceship Earth with the lights twinkling underfoot. The new pavement will take advantage of more advanced technology, bringing back some of that old-fashioned magic with new flair. Another homage to the past is the Communicore Plaza. Communicore East and West opened with Epcot Center and hosted multiple exhibits with the coolest technology the early 80s had to offer. The new plaza will have multiple stages for live exhibits and performances with plenty of seating and shade. Did I mention the shade? At Epcot? What a concept. We also received more news about Magic Band Plus. If you ever enjoyed opening your hotel room, entering the parks, or making purchases with your classic Magic Bands, you'll love the upgraded versions coming this summer. The new bands will help you interact with statues around the park and nighttime spectaculars. You can also interact with more of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. While you progress on your missions, your Magic Band Plus will light up and vibrate to help you on your way. No word on cost yet, but this looks like a fun new way to get more out of our Disney parks without jamming your face in a phone. Let's head eastward to Disneyland Paris. The 30th anniversary of the resort is underway and Disney is still uncovering surprises. Just recently, they gave a unique experience to 30 special people. Some of these guests were cast members that have been with the park since it opened. Some won service awards. Some have been dedicated volunteers, yes, spelled the right way with ears in all caps. And some were just lucky guests. These lucky few gathered in the park for a fine meal at Walt's, an American-themed restaurant, before they watched the new Disney Delight drone show and the full Disney Illuminations nighttime spectacular. Disney has done this sort of thing before, though. These guests got something a little bit more special. The entire crew boarded a bus and took the 30-mile-ish drive, oh, it's France, so it's 48 kilometers, to the Eiffel Tower. Minnie Mouse greeted the crew and ushered them to a special stage set up in front of the iconic tower. He put on a show for his honored guests, dancing and choreographing a light show behind him. In the finale, the Eiffel Tower came to life with the purples and blues of the resort's 30th anniversary celebration. Presumably, Disney also drove them back to the resort afterward. And that's 180 seconds. I hope you enjoyed our quick spin around the rest of the Disney universe. If you would like to learn more about these Disney adventures or just have a few questions, please come on over. Visit the social media and websites of both the Sweep Spot and us, their official travel planners, concierges. We look forward to planning something special for you and your family. I'm Eric Johnson, and this has been your D180.
Now let's join the crowd passing through the tunnels of the main entrance for a day in Disneyland. And this is where the world of today is left behind. For now we enter the land of yesterday and tomorrow, and of course the land of fantasy.
So, Rick, we've had you on the show before, and I know we've talked about some of the stuff you did at Disneyland, but kind of refresh our memory on like when you started at Disneyland, what your roles were there, and then kind of what you're up to now.
Yeah, sure. First of all, it's great to be back with you guys.
Oh yeah.
It's great that we're all kind of like pulling ourselves out of the black hole of the past 2 years, right? When was the last time I was on with you guys?
Oh, it's been
too
years.
long ago.
Yeah,
it was too long ago.
Yeah. Well, it's like
yeah.
everybody's sense of time has been completely just warped. Right, so like you could say, oh, I remember, didn't we go to the movies like a couple months ago? And people were like, dude, yeah, that was in 2018.
Well,
so
I will say this, Rick, that I have a way to check how many downloads we have per episode, and believe it or not, I wanted to say this when you're on here, I had it planned, but it's true. Believe it or not, you are you're on our highest downloaded episode, even over Tony Baxter.
Well, that's because people were really, really bored during COVID.
No, it was pre-COVID.
Oh, God. Well, great. Now you're going to have Tony bury me in the desert somewhere. But, your numbers have to be wrong because there's no way in the world that I'm more interesting to listen to than Tony or a myriad of other guests that you guys have had. So, but I thank you for that, and I'm glad to be here. And hopefully we will strap everybody in and give them a good ride for the next hour or so.
Yeah.
So Disneyland, right? So Disneyland, I graduated high school in 1988, back when Disneyland was in black and white and non-HD, and went to work right away in attractions on the west side. So I worked Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion. I also worked Bear Band, the Canoes, which is a modern-day medieval torture device. And then I worked opening guest control crew for Splash when it opened. And that's about it. I was not there very long. I was at Disneyland for probably under 2 years. And then I went from Disneyland to the Walt Disney Studios, specifically TV animation, where I worked on the Disney Afternoon for a while. I worked on Tailspin, was the show I was on, and did that for like a year and a half, and then our cruise kind of like dissipated, and there was nothing for me to jump to, and honestly, I didn't really want to jump to anything else because I wasn't having a good time at that point in my life at the studios, and Imagineering wasn't hiring somebody with no experience, so I just kind of went off into the world for the next 20 years or so, literally. And then, I have done odd jobs all my life and bounced around and about a decade, maybe 11 years ago now, I worked myself into the themed entertainment industry, and I've been a creative director and show writer for the past decade or better now, and worked for, the easiest way to say is I've done jobs for just about everybody except WDI at this point. Worked with some really fantastic people along the way, and it's been an intense ride. But COVID came, COVID came and really literally changed the face of themed entertainment, the industry. When your income source shuts down worldwide, it's kind of a big drag,
Yeah.
and things were going really, really well, and everything kind of came crashing down around everyone. And, frankly, guys, and I don't want to sound like a Mr. Gloom and Doom, but I don't think that the industry is ever going to be the same again. And so, in the meantime, obviously, I've become involved with Midsummer Scream. And for those that don't know, it's the world's largest Halloween and horror convention. And it's held every summer in Long Beach at the convention center. And, we of course, had to pause the past 2 years for that as well. So talk about being taken off at both knees. That's been my existence in limbo, literally, for like the past 2 years. But I'm really focused on that. We have an amazing 5th anniversary finally show coming up this July, and it's going to be bigger and better than ever. And I'm really focused on the Midsummer stuff and the Midsummer events because, to be honest, I'm kind of transitioning myself out of themed entertainment because, I'm 52 now. And you wake up not knowing where your next paycheck's coming from a lot of the time in the themed entertainment industry. And at this point in my life, especially after riding through COVID and all this stuff, kind of snaps everything into perspective, like what's important to you. So kind of chasing dreams and, moving where I want to be in life. And it's not necessarily living from paycheck to paycheck and gig to gig, not knowing when the phone's going to ring. So it's kind of like time to create your own destiny here and kind of become the captain of your own ship. And if that means transitioning out of themed entertainment, then so be it. But, those that still want to work with me, they know how to get me, and not like I'm dead or anything. So, it's going to be an interesting next chapter. Let's just say that.
Yeah, Rick has always, I've known Rick since 1989, maybe 1988. He's always been, you've always been like Mr. Halloween. I mean, very into horror movies and the history of them, and Halloween haunts. Well, not just the official Halloween haunt at Knott's, but home haunts. I mean, we've gone places together. So it was great that you got to be a ride operator on Haunted Mansion. I mean, the Midsummer. I mean, just be sure to, and rather than saving it for the end, be sure to explain to everybody exactly what's going on with Midsummer and the events that you have with that.
Yeah, I know this is the Disney podcast, so I promise we're going to put our ears on and get back to it.
No,
but Midsummer, here's the elevator pitch. Midsummer is kind of like the Comic-Con of Halloween. So if you could imagine everything that something like a Comic-Con gives you, whether it's little immersive experiences to major world-class panel presentations to a sprawling show floor, just plug in Halloween and horror in all those components and more, and you have Midsummer. This year we're expecting upward of 50,000 people to come from all over the world to Long Beach. So it's not a little convention by any stretch. It's a major con. And like I said, this will be our 5th year. This is our 5th anniversary, having to be on hiatus for the past 2 years. It's pretty amazing that we're finally getting to do this again, and it feels really good. And the entire community is really, really excited about it. And we are too. And we've started announcing a lot of our content. Something that I've personally been on. So as the creative director of Midsummer Scream, one of my duties is to put together the Hall of Shadows. And so for the theme park kids out there, which if you're not a theme park person, why are you listening? But, the Hall of Shadows is a really large hall at Long Beach. It's about 100,000 square feet. And we basically turn all the lights off, and we have a lot of home haunts and pro haunts from Southern California, and actually we have one from the Northern California area this year. They come and they build these mini experiences. We have about 18 attractions this year in the Hall of Shadows. So you could literally spend your entire weekend at Midsummer in the Hall of Shadows, going from attraction to attraction. So that's a huge deal at Midsummer, and that's kind of my sandbox, to assemble that every time. And that's certainly a very major component and something that's very unique to Midsummer Scream. And then I also help put together some of the larger high-profile panel presentations. We have a stage that's the ballroom seats about 2,000 people. And we tend to fill it up with our content. We did a Haunted Mansion 50th anniversary panel. You guys can find it online back in 2019. And to date, it was our most, I think it was our most successful and definitely our most attended panel. There was standing room only. There was probably about 2,600 people.
Yeah, I listened to
attendance.
It was cool.
Yeah, it was fantastic, you know. And if you guys haven't heard it, and I'm talking about you listeners, if you haven't heard it, just YouTube Haunted Mansion 50th anniversary panel Midsummer Scream, and there's a ton of videos up there, and it was a good time. It was really fantastic, and it was very important. You know, it was very cool to have that presentation. So on the heels of that, you always ask yourself, you know, God, what do you do next? What do you do to better that, right? So something that I've been toying with for years, that was literally put on hold with everything else, was I thought, you know, we celebrate as monster kids when we come together in this community, and what a better way to celebrate being a monster kid than to bring together the original monster kids, the families of people like Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney Jr. Sr. and Vincent Price. And so we're going to bring their family members. For the first time ever, they're going to assemble on stage together and talk about what it was like growing up in the shadows of these Hollywood icons. And not even Hollywood, just like pop culture icons. And so we're going to have an amazing presentation, and that's actually going to be hosted by Kirk Hammett, who is the lead guitarist for Metallica, and he's also a fantastic, you know, source of knowledge on horror collectibles, and he has this collection that's just unparalleled. It's unbelievable, this collection that he has, and so we're very excited and honored to have Kirk be part of this, and it's a really funny story. So I'll go quickly through this, and I promise we'll throw as many Disney ties in as we can. Yeah. So the original plan, and it all came together, frankly, very quickly and very easily. Like, these families are all fantastic, and they all said, yeah, they would love to do it. So I was always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And my vision originally for the panel was that it was going to be hosted by another really, really famous monster kid, Gilbert Gottfried. And unfortunately, obviously, Gilbert died recently, and not before, though. I had a really nice online conversation with he and his wife, Dara. He really wanted to do it. He was really honored that we asked him to do it. And, you know, just it really sucks that he passed away, and I think his health was in question, and they just said he couldn't, you know, and that was that. But all along, David Markland, who's our executive producer, our executive director, he'd been in my ear with, well, what about Kirk Hammett? What about Kirk Hammett? And to be honest, to be brutally honest, I was like, dude, okay, who is Kirk Hammett? And David's like, dude, it's like the lead guitarist for Metallica, man. And I'm like, okay, that's great, that's really cool, but like, why would he come to Midsummer Scream, and why would he want to host this panel? And he's like, dude, he has this incredible horror collection. He's like one of the biggest collectors in the world. And I was like, what? You know, I just didn't know. Like, growing up in high school and everything, I was the Depeche Mode and Oingo Boingo kid. I did not listen, you know, to metal. And, you know, so I was completely caught off guard. And so I actually listened to an episode of Gilbert's podcast where he talks to Kirk. And as I'm listening, I'm like falling in love with Kirk, going, "Oh my God, this is it. This is the guy. This is a fantastic thing." And then I'm thinking at the same time, and there's no way in hell that he's going to come to Midsummer Scream to do this panel. Well, you know, I mentioned something to Sarah Karloff, who's become a good friend, and that's the daughter of Boris Karloff, and she says, "Oh, we love Kirk." And it turns out like all the families already know him, and they all love him. And it was just like, oh, here, well, we'll make a phone call, and suddenly there was the message in my inbox. Yes, Kirk would be very interested in doing this. Let's talk. And man, it just came together like Halloween magic. So the original Monster Kids is going to be in the afternoon on Saturday. I don't think I've given the dates. It's July 29th through 31st at the Long Beach Convention Center. And so Saturday afternoon, we're going to have the original Monster Kids on stage with Kirk Hammett. And it's going to be a 90-minute presentation. And we're going to do everything from talking about their personal private lives growing up as these Monster Kids. They're going to share videos, home videos, and just really private moments about their famous dads and granddads. And it's going to be pretty fantastic. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah, wow.
I really like how, Disneyland connects to so many different other fandoms and enthusiasms. I mean, it's choking me up. Okay, so, but it does tie into the Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
Just like
huge crossover.
It crosses over. It ties into train enthusiasm. Yep. All these railroad enthusiasts. I mean, you have all these different tie-ins, and people can find something about Disneyland that ties into that, and they like, so you have all these concentric circles, really.
Yeah.
of friends and celebrities and people that you meet that. That's I think one of the things that makes Disneyland great is doing that. And, you mentioned the Haunted Mansion 50th anniversary, and I'm thinking, for 50 years to have something last that long, I mean, that's almost as old as you, Rick.
Dude. But you know what? The mansion looks and feels a whole lot better, dude. I'm just saying, man. In all honesty, we're being transparent here. I'm on like day 8 of COVID, and this is not something that I would suggest trying at home. And
we dragged him out of bed for this, folks.
Yeah, no, actually, you dragged me off the couch, but I wasn't far. I was already sitting here because I sat here and I watched Encanto this afternoon.
Nice. Well, we don't talk about Bruno. So.
Well, I figured that we would be talking maybe about the Treehouse in a little bit. So I figured I better bone up on what this Treehouse thing is that everybody's talking.
Oh, okay.
So I was a good boy and did a little bit of homework. And but no, the COVID thing's horrible. And it's very, it's not something to be like embarrassed about. Like everybody and their mother seems to be getting it these days. And it's frustrating for the past 2 years. I've been a good little boy. I got vaccinated and had horrendous ongoing side effects from the vaccination, and wore the mask everywhere. Pretty much stayed inside like everybody, like a hermit. And we didn't really stop living our lives. We did go to Vegas a few times, and let me tell you, it's barely any fun to gamble with the stupid mask on as the machines are kicking off all the heat and everything. Oh, yeah. But did that, and have done a little bit of traveling during COVID, but never got sick. I mean, it was weird. I literally had not been sick in 3 years until 2 weeks ago. I woke up and I had a pesky cough. And I thought, my allergies are kicking up. The Santa Anas have been blowing around, and the cough just continued and persisted. And by the afternoon, my chest started hurting. And I thought, oh, God, I wonder if. And I just, the next day I woke up and I kind of had a little temperature, and I was kind of feeling yicky. And is that a word, yicky? But I woke up feeling that way. And my girlfriend, Nova, she brought over, we have the at-home tests and all that. And I did it, and sure enough, positive. And now, thank goodness, this is really weird too. So she's been with me, and she's been taking care of me, and she's like bulletproof to this thing. She's tested 3 times now, and she's negative. It's like she can't.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, so that's been fantastic for her, and so I've been blessed with that. But no, man, this is just a drag, and it's more annoying than anything because you figure, okay, I've made it through the woods. We did all the things. We jumped through all the hoops, and then just randomly. It wasn't even anything cool or fun like a Vegas trip. It was just like randomly. Yeah. I started coughing one morning here after like maybe going to Target or something, So little frustrated with all that. But it is what it is, and I can't complain really because there are people that are in a lot worse situations than I am. So So knock on wood, this thing will get out of my system, and I'll be back to my shenanigans. And thank God this isn't closer to Midsummer. So that's
Yeah.
Get it out of the way. That's right.
That's right. So you guys have been all right through all this?
Yeah.
We're doing okay.
All right. Ken, I know you got the big family, so that's like a petri dish.
Yeah, we're trying to keep things good here.
All right.
I have been wanting to ask you a few questions. When was the last time you've been to Disneyland?
We went several months ago.
Okay.
We went several months ago, and this is something interesting that we probably should talk about too. Yeah. I grew up in Southern California, and this is going to be a weird episode, but I really have a feeling that you're going to get comments, and you're going to get a lot of people like nodding along, going, "Yeah, man, I feel that. That's exactly how I feel." Mm-hmm. I grew up in Southern California and started going to all the theme parks when I was about 2. I had a grandfather that liked to be out of the house, and I was his co-pilot, and we spent a lot of time hitting up all the SoCal attractions, from Lion Country to Disneyland to Knott's to Marine World, Marineland and all this stuff, Anna's Village, all that stuff. And, when I graduated high school in the late 80s, I went to work at Disneyland right out of high school. Like literally like the couple weeks after graduating, I was picking up my stuff to work, Pirates. And fell in love with Disneyland, dropped out of college to the chagrin of my family, and dropped out of college to work at Disneyland full time. And really decided that I wanted to one day become an Imagineer and all that stuff, right? And kind of made my way in the world that way. But even after Disneyland, and the Disney Studios, I became an annual pass holder and just stayed very loyal to Disneyland and just kind of grew up being, the Disneyland kid. And like so many people here in SoCal, it became a second home, to me. And, we went with my girlfriend and her kids. We took them and we went and did the whole Rise of the Resistance thing, and had the 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. whatever it is, heart attack, freak out fit, trying to get reservations right on 8 o'clock or whatever.
Right.
When the thing opened, and guys, it's just not fun anymore. It just and I know that kind of sucks all the air out of the room, but I think that's the elephant sitting there and dancing in the middle of the room is I got no irons in this fire. I don't work for WDI, and I don't know or really care that I ever would, but I just I feel like Disney these days they have become so masterful at taking the fun out of everything that Walt set the parks up to be. Mm-hmm. Like, who wants to make a reservation to have lunch? Like when you go to Disneyland, it's not enough that you have to park and pay the price to get in. You can't just wander around anymore and let Disneyland unveil itself to you, and you can't let the adventure unfold before you. You have to plan everything months in advance, or you're going to get stuck eating somebody's sandwich that they dropped out at the picnic tables outside the main gate because nothing else is available to you. And I just think, I grew up really savvy, right? I grew up really savvy with this stuff, and I'm very savvy with the iPhone and everything. What about these people that come from the Midwest that have never been to Disneyland or whatever? They don't know what's coming. They don't know to prepare like that. To me, it's just, and again, I don't want to be that bummer dude, but I guarantee you there are a lot of listeners right now going, yep, I don't have that key pass or whatever you want to call it. A pass is a pass, that they completely monkeyed up, in my opinion. And, it's just not fun anymore. And
get off my lawn.
I'm telling you, again, I don't want to be that guy because, look, I love Disneyland. I love the vision of Disneyland, and God knows I've got a history with some of the people that created the Disneyland that we all love. But it pains me. It pains me that it's just such a chore. It feels like a chore to go to the happiest place on earth.
Well, that's why we recommend concierge to people.
Oh, you're not joking, dude. Like,
no, I mean,
Disney World is like 10 times worse. Always has been as far as planning. And I was telling my girlfriend that when we do get around to going to Orlando, I'm going to let a travel agent handle all this because I don't want the headache.
Yeah.
I mean,
Lynn will hook you up. Seriously, Lynn will actually hook you up there, Rick. And there's an industry professional, a leading industry professional who's done work for Disney, including some really great work in Shanghai. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to mention his name, but he was posting on Facebook. I don't think it was a public post. I think it was just but he was confused about his ticket for Disneyland, and he's like, how am I doing this? Do I take this paper ticket? Do I use the app? You know, he was trying to figure out reservation, like how he was going to get in and the reservations and everything like that. And I'm like, if you have a problem with this, imagine people who have no clue, because this guy keeps up on all the trend. I mean, he's one of the leading industry professionals in writing and directing. I mean, if I mentioned his projects, everybody listening would know these projects. Mm-hmm. But and no, it's not Tony. But man, I mean. Yeah, a lot of our listeners are fans of particular time periods at Disneyland, and that's perfectly okay. There's nothing, it's just like with Star Wars stuff, there's nothing that says you have to be a fan of the whole package. People are saying, like, I only like the Walt years. Okay, that's fine. That's good. There's nothing that says you have to be happy with the way things are now, and it can be hard if it's changed so much. It can be hard because you're still hearkening back to the way things were before, even all the way back to when you were growing up, and it's like, this is different, and so it doesn't feel the same.
But here's what I will counter with on that, though, Ken. Like, the problem isn't evolution of the park, right? Like, I was obviously, and I even wrote a public piece about it, about, the dangers of bringing something as large as Galaxy's Edge into Disneyland, It's not so much the evolution of Disneyland. I mean, there are things that are there now that I'm not a big fan of, but, I just don't do those things, right? It's a matter of the process of Disneyland. Disneylanding itself, Disneylanding has become unfun because you don't know if you're going to get to ride the ride you want. I mean, it used to be really, really simple. And when I say used to be, I'm talking, dude, this is like lasted for 6 decades. You go, you show up, you stand in line, you ride. Done. Keep it simple, stupid, because, you don't have to make reservations to watch freaking World of Color. Right. If you want to sit there on a blanket, and security doesn't want to chase you away and say, well, you can't use a blanket because it takes up a lot of room and it doesn't look very good, then, you should be able to at least stand there or sit there or whatever you want to do with your day. As far as I'm concerned, you paid your $100 to get in. If you want to sit next to a trash can for 5 hours waiting for a show or a parade, that's your prerogative. You should be able to. And chances are, while you're sitting there, you're going to go buy a hot dog. You're going to go buy, a Coke or whatever. Mm-hmm. And on your way out, you're probably going to buy, the 18th iteration of Main Street Electrical Parade merchandise, So I don't know. It's just Disneylanding itself, not fun for me anymore. So, and again, maybe it's a product of COVID, but everything kind of snapped into sharp focus for me, where it was like, before COVID, I couldn't imagine not going to the parks all the time. And now, and it's not because of being around people or anything like that. It's just, now it's just like, God, it's just so not fun. And everything in the world has become, I think, such a challenge and such a chore that going to a theme park should be like the last thing that brings anybody stress. It should be a stress reliever. It should be an outlet. It should be a place where you can just go and kind of forget about everything else that's going on in your life. And, if you're sitting there stressed out at 7 a.m. or whatever it is, trying to get your Rise of the Resistance ticket, or now, worrying about how you're going to choke up another, $100 just so your family of 5 or whatever can go on Rise of the Resistance. Yeah. Dude, I'm sorry. That's just not. No, who would have thought we would ever lament not having Eisner times back? I'm just saying. No, yeah. It's this downward spiral.
I'm Michael Eisner, and I never made you get these reservations.
Man,
the Rise of the Resistance ritual is it. I don't know how it is now, but when we did it, where it was like at 8 a.m. or whenever it was, where everybody, everybody's packed onto Main Street, right? They're getting ready for the rope drop, and everything goes silent at 8 a.m. and then you start hearing groups go, yes, yeah. You hear different groups yelling out, yeah, yeah. Man. And like I said, like I've suggested before, I should go around knocking the phones out of people's hands so we can get the reservations and they can't.
It was the most stressful time. We drove from Utah to specifically to go on that ride, my son and I.
Yeah.
And at the time he was like 12 or something, and it's probably the most stressful I've ever been. I'm sitting there looking at my phone shaking. I'm like, we came all this way, we better do it, and oh my, we were able to do it. Wow.
Literally, like, it's funny because we joke about it, but it's not funny because, like, really, who wants to start their Disneyland day like that?
Right.
No one.
Well, I'm totally serious when I say the time comes to go to Walt Disney World, check with concierge. Totally.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Because you can't even get off the freaking plane in Orlando these days now without having everything planned months in advance.
Yeah.
So, and I know that I'm not the only person that thinks like this, and I'm sure that Disney World's numbers aren't hurting, but that puts them very low on like my travel priority list. Suddenly there are a lot of other things where, guess what? I can go to New Orleans with my girlfriend for the weekend. We don't have to plan a thing except maybe where we're going to eat ahead of time and where we're going to stay, obviously. And hell, if we wanted to wing that, we could also just fly into Louis Armstrong Airport and probably find a nice hotel without a problem either.
Right. But they don't have Pirates of the Caribbean there. They don't have...
Yeah, but they do have Lafitte. They do have the swamps and everything where Jean Lafitte and all them pirates really were. So, it's just
there.
What I'm getting at is if you make things not fun, guess what? Even your most loyal fans, they're going to go somewhere else because, believe me, the grass is greener these days out there.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to say that I totally agree with every single thing you said about it because I feel that way too. But I still go often, and what I do is I try to look past that and try to look at everything else that I do see that I remember the way it was. And sometimes it's hard to do because you hit all these hurdles, especially with the Fast Pass, because it's one thing when you had the paper Fast Pass and you can go up and, you know how to do it. But now you have to do it on your phone, and that's okay. That's technology, and it's probably easier. But now you can only use one time per attraction. So if you use it at 10 in the morning, then you can't use it again. And if you want to wait standby, then you're going to be waiting over an hour for Thunder, which is ridiculous. I don't think we've ever seen it like that except for like super busy days.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just I don't know that I have any intelligent answers. I know the genie literally is already out of the bottle on that, and it's just, what? I just am choosing these days to spend my time and money elsewhere.
Well, how does Imagineering even design for that? Because, okay, you look at the evolution of stuff, and, you look at Cartoon Spin and Indiana Jones, and clearly they were like, okay, we're going to have people waiting long times for these experiences. We're going to make the wait part of the experience. And, Star Tours, of course, back in 1987, that was amazing with that. But now, if you're going to have like 4 different ways to actually get into the attraction, where someone's going to be waiting just 5 minutes and someone else is going to be waiting, 2 hours. Yeah. I mean, how does Imagineering even accommodate that in terms of designing for the experience?
Well, I think that's I think it's a broader question, and I've struggled with that as a show writer, for years now, because when you do work for something in a park in Asia or in the UAE, they're obsessed with VIP access. And so in some attractions that I've worked on, there are like four different queue areas. They actually have like ultra VIP. And it's stupid, right? It's like an 8-star restaurant. It's like, how the hell do you have 8 stars? So it's one of those things like, and the bottom line is, you get to a point where you just can't. And the downside of that is, okay, we're going to design this queue this is the story that we're going to tell in the queue. And if operations, because believe me, it's operations, it's not Imagineering or any of the design firms, it's operations. If they insist on having 3 other bypass lines that cut the queue experience from 15 minutes to 20 minutes down to 3 minutes or no minutes because you're walking right through it, you know, those VIPs lose out because you can't. You just get to a point where you can't anymore. And you know, I get it, and I've been in meetings where people just beat themselves to death over this. And the consensus always, it doesn't matter what company it is. I've worked for a lot of companies. It doesn't matter what company you're working for. The consensus always is, screw it at the end. It's like, we're going to do what we can do. And usually it's not much because most budgets these days get slashed when it comes to the queue. You know, we're going to do what we're going to do. And if ops wants to have people do a sprint through here and not get the story set up, not our problem. Mm-hmm. And that's toxic, right? It's toxic on all levels because it tells us that ops doesn't care or get it or both. And then it trickles down to designers. You know, designers in the, I want to say the golden age, like when they were creating queues like for Indy and for Cartoon Spin and you know, for our East Coast people, Dragon Challenge, you know, Dueling Dragons, you know, before that had an amazing queue, or Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, beautiful queue in Orlando, right? You know, those guys really had a lot to play with. And now these younger folks, and it's a lot of younger folks coming out of Design Center and Cal Arts and what have you, they just kind of have breadcrumbs compared to what these guys had, you know, to play with. And it's sad because these guys come out and they're like so excited and so enthusiastic, and they just get hit in the head with a crowbar, you know, where it says, well, the queue has to suck and it can't be fun because no one's going to care and it's probably going to get cut. And so that's what people are met with, you know, coming straight into the industry these days. And no, man, I mean, we could go on for hours and hours just about that aspect of toxicity within the industry. But it gets to the point where just like nobody cares anymore. Nobody at the park level cares about the queues. Designers then don't care because, you know, you can spend 4 weeks designing a queue area, and then in one meeting it's just obliterated because somebody says, no, we have to have our VIP line go through there. And people just throw their arms up and go, no.
They want it. You know what? They want people to be bored waiting, so they'll pay for the access. If you think about it, operations wants people to be bored waiting, so because then people will be more likely to pay to skip the line. You know,
it's toxic, Ken, and I've seen it, and it's happening quickly. I mean, I can see, I have seen a change in the last 10 years that I've been doing this. I've seen the shift already, and I've seen the attitude shift. And just within 10 years, from this has to be like Indiana Jones to, whatever. And again, I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom, but that is what's going on in the industry. And either there's going to be a new revolution where people, and I'm looking at the creatives and the leaders of these creative design companies, take a stand against these clueless clients and say, no, it has to be this way because you're eroding everything else that you're putting money into. Or it's just going to get worse and worse. And then every park might as well just be a roller coaster queue because there's going to be nothing left. So, again, there either has to be a revolution, and I'm hopeful that there will be. I probably won't be part of that because I'm just kind of tapped out at this point. But I really think that these young designers have it in them that they can really go after it. But really, man, it's got to be up to the companies that are designing these attractions to stand up to clients that tell them to dumb down these queues and all that, and just say no. That's a big word to say, and especially after going through COVID, when you know the work that I did get through different companies. You know, the jobs and the amount of pay that clients were willing to pay us because they knew we were literally starving was like insulting. And so not only do we have to, as an industry, now climb out of the pit that COVID has made, where suddenly, you know, no, sorry, Mr. Client, we can't do your attraction for $5. It's back up to being, you know, $50 million. And our firm also, we need to be paid more than $100. Now we got to be paid $1 million to do this. I'm glad I'm not at the helm of that ship, but we have to get there again, because all the foreign companies that have been hiring us to do this stuff, they know that they've had us bent over, and they've offered horrendous pay. Mm-hmm. They've put numerous companies almost out of business. Some of the biggest companies that you guys know of, and we're not going to name names, they are down to like literally 1 or 2 people left in the entire company, just to keep it afloat.
Yeah.
And you never know, because everybody keeps an awesome presence on internet and on Twitter and on Instagram.
Right.
But these people are hurting, man. So no, saying no is going to be a big hurdle to get over, because if we don't, I don't know that the industry is ever going to come back from COVID, to be honest with you.
I think there's going to be some permanent changes, but we'll see. I think the best years could be ahead eventually. I mean, but you're right. You're pointing out, what was Walt Disney's? It goes back to Walt Disney. He wanted people to come experience it, go back and tell their friends, "Oh my gosh, this is such an incredible experience. You've got to go see it too."
Yeah.
And so it's not just a matter of, "Ha, we already have your money now. We don't care." It should be, you want people to leave satisfied, and you want them in 20 years being nostalgic for it.
Yeah.
So they bring back their kids and grandkids. You don't want them saying, "Well, I'm glad I don't. I've seen that. I don't have to go back there." I didn't like waiting. I didn't like waiting 3 hours watching other people get ahead of me in line. And nothing to do while I was waiting in the standby.
And by all means, this isn't a Disney or a Disney World thing. This is not. We're not picking on Disney, but it's a Disney podcast, so that's kind of where we're going. But I've seen this affect operations at every park that I've been to. And some parks have handled it better than others. I think that the best in Southern California throughout the entire pandemic by far was Knott's. I think that Knott's did an amazing job with what they could through the pandemic. And, huge kudos to them. There are also a lot of things that I saw at Knott's that were really challenged by the pandemic that still haven't really been corrected yet. But Knott's really stands out as the one park here in Southern California that really, with flying colors, did the best with what they could during the pandemic. So huge props to them. Again, guys, God, my intent is not to be like Mr. Doom and Gloom here. We started talking about it, and that's just I always kind of like speak my truth on these things. But can we just change the mood up just a little bit? And let me just say that I listen to you guys all the time, and if he's listening, Jim Corcus, I love the episodes that you're on, and you are just a treasure trove of information. And God, I would love to buy that guy a drink sometime, because he's so damn cool, and he's so positive, and he's just so informative, and he's fantastic. So thank you guys for having Jim on. He is just like, he's an amazing, amazing asset that you guys bring to the show.
Yeah, he really is. We were lucky to have him.
Yeah, we get a lot of good feedback on his appearances.
Oh, dude, he's a treasure trove. He's fantastic. I could listen to him forever.
What I was wanting to talk about a little bit, since you kind of have you do have the creative mind, and you've done theme park stuff, is to kind of have a discussion about maybe not the operations, but the design of things. Like, I mean, what did you think of? Right, you mentioned you went on Rise of Resistance. What did you think of the attraction?
I love Rise of the Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
I went on it I've only been on it like twice.
Yeah.
So, COVID. But I went on it. I think a day or two before it opened to the public. Mm-hmm. A good friend of mine from Imagineering took me on a preview of it, and literally, like at the end, when the vehicle comes out of the show building before it docks at the exit, I was so blown away just even by that I was brought to tears. Like tears welled up in my eyes, and I thought, this is just unbelievable. There were some takeaways from that, right? Of course, you get off and you're hyperventilating. You're like, that was absolutely amazing, and you're doing the hand waving thing and clutching pearls and everything. But, it was fantastic. And I think that anybody that worked on Rise should be very, very proud, because that's something that decades from now, people will be talking about. And it was interesting to me because I went through that, and one of the first things I said when we got off the ride was, I said, that is a modern day haunted mansion. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, think about it. You're in this queue, and then there's a show moment, and that brings you to another part of a queue, and then you get on the attraction. I said, it's pretty much the same mechanical beats as a haunted mansion, where you're in the queue, then you're in the stretching room, then you're in more of the queue, and then you get on the doom buggies. And I said, it's the same thing, man. It's haunted mansion decades later. And he was like, holy crap, I've never even thought about that. And I said, well, that's why you brought me with you. But
you're right. Wow.
So yeah, and so it was kind of mind blowing. I was like, this is fantastic. It's a mansion template, and it works, and it's worked for years and years with mansions. So I don't know if anybody on the design team thought of that, but if they didn't, it's pretty amazing because it's a direct parallel to what you experience with the haunted mansion and the beat of the mansion.
And you're afraid of what's around every corner, right?
Yes. But so no, I loved it. I thought, Rise is fantastic. And then, of course, the second question is, well, is it the greatest attraction ever? I would say no. It's certainly up there. And, at the price point that it's been reported at, it better be up there. Yeah. But, it's like money can't buy happiness. Yeah, but it can lease the hell out of it. But, it can certainly build you a world-class attraction if you got a lot of funds. But, I would say, I don't know, man. And it may just be me, the guy that grew up in the 70s, going to Disneyland. But I really think still the attention to detail that you find in Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion, when those things open, could you imagine being on Pirates of the Caribbean opening day and going on this 15, 20-minute boat ride through caverns with waterfalls, with all these audio animatronic figures? Like, the figures that are in Rise of the Resistance are great, but we've seen them already a million times. Everything from Frozen to Avatar to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Coaster, right? It's cool, but it's not anything new. Could you imagine getting on your boat in Pirates back in 67 and taking a ride down that waterfall and suddenly seeing these pirates on the pirate ship firing on the fort, and then the auction scene with the auctioneer and the brides, and you would be you wouldn't even know what to say when you get off of that, right? Yeah. So no, I think that Rise is unbelievable. I would say that Rise is not the greatest attraction in the world. I really think that heavyweight title belongs to those attractions that were made by those very, very special group of Imagineers back in the 60s. And you got to love the Mansion and Pirates teams. And they brought us things that, in my opinion, to this day have never met their equal.
But Rise is probably the closest we'll get to having that experience of...
Rise is pretty damn good, man. Rise, like, I remember the first time that I got off of Indy, and Ken remembers these days. It was really funny. My first ride on Indiana Jones lasted about 35 cycles because I was there for the media event, but I was there as Theme Park Adventure, and TPA was the first fanzine print publication that was recognized by Disneyland as legitimate media, and that I'm sure without a doubt, without ever having like the serious just sit down, come to Jesus conversation about it, I'm sure that Marty Sklar played a role in that with the Disneyland publicity team at the time, because I had become very friendly with Tony and with Marty during the building of Indiana Jones, and they knew exactly what we were doing covering it, and we had Bob Barber was there with me all the time taking pictures of it, and we published nonstop articles about the building of Indiana Jones. So to be there when Indy opened, they started cycling it really early in the morning one morning during the media event, and it was so that people could get their weather report shots from it, or people on the radio could go ride, during a recorded or a live broadcast riding it. And I was like the only print publication, dude. I didn't have to run back to an editing bay or anything. So a friend and I, we tucked ourselves in the left and right corners of the back row, and we didn't get off the ride. We had our own Jeep for about 34 or 35 cycles. And so that was my first experience on Indiana Jones. finally, and I couldn't move the next day. I think I was peeing blood for a week, but it was so painful. Oh my God, I could barely move, and I was a young whippersnapper back then. It would put me in traction and probably kill me today. But getting off of that, you're thinking, okay, that's the best thing I've ever done in my life. And then something like Rise of the Resistance, which how many decades later? Almost 4 decades later, it took them to bring something online at Disneyland that was the equivalent, if not a little bit better than Indiana Jones.
Too long, yeah.
And I don't know that it was. And to be honest, and this could be a whole other podcast. I don't know that it is. If you step back to the 1,000-foot mark, I don't know that Rise of the Resistance is better than Indiana Jones. If you look pound for pound at which attraction did what on opening day, Indy was a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. Indy was a work of art when it opened. Sadly, it hasn't been maintained. It's like having a Ferrari that you'd never give an oil change. But, shame on the park, and that's all ops. That's not Imagineering, and that's not Tony and his team. It's Disneyland, just kind of took a dump on that one. And they've really let it become something that it should have never become. But when it opened, Indiana Jones was beautiful, man. It was really special. It was the most intense bit of design that Disneyland had seen since the Haunted Mansion opened. I really do. And it's pretty crazy that it's taken all these decades now to bring something online like Rise of the Resistance. And then even crazier that COVID came, and here we are, 2 years later, and still, now that Disneyland is back open, but for a long time, this brand new ride sat there for a year and a half that 5% of the population or whatever had been on, which is so weird to me, right?
I know, yeah.
All the parks kind of experienced that. Everybody had new things that just kind of sat there, unplayed with toys. And that's so weird, this whole Twilight Zone that we've been in.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned that you were watching Encanto and you were talking about the Treehouse and that sort of thing. What do you think about, do you know anything? I mean, they haven't really said anything what they're doing.
No, yeah. I don't. And you read the tweets and you read the fan headlines saying that they're speculating that it's Encanto. So I figured, I'd better watch this thing and see what everybody's talking about. And the minute I saw the Treehouse, there's a Treehouse moment, I thought, yeah, of course, that's a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. If they're going to change it to anything, it's going to be that. And I don't remember the kid's name that the Treehouse belonged to. It was in his room, but it was design-wise it looked pretty. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of content to it. There was a water slide on it that went through a waterfall or whatever. Don't think we're going to get that. But I mean, they even had the tiger that they have Sabor up in Tarzan's Treehouse. You have the tiger even that kind of looked like a fat Sabor. It looked like Sabor, 40 years later or whatever. But, sure, I could see them changing that to the Encanto Treehouse. Why not? You know what? When it comes down, and I know people bellyache about it, and look, it makes me sad. I wrote a 70-page book on Tarzan's Treehouse, right? Yep. So when I first saw the pictures a couple weeks ago of Tarzan's Treehouse all covered up with the tarps and everything, just a little personal note here. I shot a text to my friend Tab Murphy, who I still stay in touch with. Tab was the screenwriter for Tarzan for Disney, and he also wrote the foreword of the Tarzan book that I did with TPA. And I said to him, it looks like that's it for the old Treehouse. And we just had a really nice, very heartfelt back and forth about what a cool ride that had been, journey, not ride, but a journey in creating the Tarzan's Treehouse book and him writing the foreword. And just, I told him he was my hero because Tarzan, I think, is still one of the best animated films that Disney has churned out. And, that's solidified in my mind every time I see newer Disney films, no negative daggers thrown or anything, but the quality of the films back in the day of like Tarzan and Little Mermaid and Lion King and all that, we're definitely a long way from those films, So it really speaks to the genius of Howard Ashman and Alan Menken and the Glenn Keane and Rice Deha and the people that were at the helm of the studio then, reviving the animation department. So it's great that we got for a while. We had Tarzan's Treehouse, and you know what? This will open up to whatever it becomes, and there's going to be a whole new generation of kids that grow up, and this is going to be their Treehouse. And I'm really cool with that. That goes back to what we were talking about, Ken, about the evolution of Disneyland. While it may not be my thing, and I've got bad knees, so to be honest with you, it's been like a decade since I've been up in Tarzan's Treehouse anyway. While it may not be my thing, it's going to be somebody's thing, you know? And what makes their experience as a kid at Disneyland any less valid than mine growing up? It doesn't, you know? Because even though we can say Disneyland is for everyone, you know, Disneyland is your land, I have a feeling that Walt was kind of eyeballing those that were, you know, 13 and younger, you know, because that is really, that's really the impressionable youth. And those are the people that their imaginations are exploding in a million different directions when they strap into a ride or they climb up into a foreboding tree house. And they're the ones that are really the dreamers of tomorrow. You know, they're just starting their journeys. We're the old men saying, "Get off my lawn. I'm not making a reservation for anything."
Right.
You know, I'll go and lick tables in Plaza Gardens, you know, whatever. But it's just, it's going to be interesting to see what it is. And if it's Encanto, then I think that's definitely a no-brainer. And I really couldn't even imagine what else it would be. And then if it is, you got to wonder, does that mean that days are numbered in Florida for Swiss Family Robinson? You just don't know.
That's the other thing is I had read somewhere that Disney Plus was supposed to be doing a show, Swiss Family Robinson, on Disney Plus.
And there you go. And then wouldn't it be funny if we got Swiss Family Robinson back?
That's what some people think. I don't know.
Right? Hey, I'm down. I would. You know what? It would not just. I wouldn't be the only person getting a big well up of tears if I heard the the Swiss polka again, you know, in Adventureland. I think that would be fantastic for so many people. Yeah. But look, if they do the Encanto thing, I totally get it. Totally get it. And if they don't, well, you know, you just got to hope and trust that the designers that are working on this have the heart and the fortitude that they know what they're doing and they'll deliver something really cool.
Well, what I hope doesn't happen is they just don't do anything with it. You know,
I don't think they're going to tear it out.
No, not tear it out, but just leave it. You know.
But could they?
I don't know.
I don't know. They didn't do anything with the trams for a year. But you know, let's not go there because by the end of that rant, I promise I'll have listeners.
They had a big reopening ceremony. I mean, hey, you know.
Don't even get me started, Ken. Don't even get me started.
I'm surprised they didn't do a Bringing Back the Trams documentary. You know.
God. Bringing something online that should have been available to guests beginning with day one is no cause for back clapping or having a little ceremony. That's all I'm going to say about that.
They should have never charged full price for parking with that.
I guarantee you they would have never let any of their company managers walk a mile to their car.
No.
That's all I'm saying. And that's all I'm going to say about that, gentlemen.
That's all I have to say about that.
Do not get me going on that. But hey, what about? Let's talk. Did you guys see the preview for Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus?
I saw the trailer. Yes.
So there you go. And you know, I don't know when this is coming out, but spoiler, not spoiler. They, you know, because you read about it everywhere, and people, you've had time to see it. They tease at Darth Vader. It looks like we're gonna get to see some Darth Vader. So anytime that we get to see Vader, hey, I think that is a huge boon for OG Star Wars fans.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
About that, I'm really excited about that. Did you guys like Mandalorian, and did you guys like that and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've seen clips. I haven't really watched. You know. So.
You know what, Ken? You have your homework, pal. You have your homework lined up for you.
I don't. You know, I haven't had control of the TV around here in like a long time, so. I just pretty much see clips, and that's about it. You know,
we got to talk about that.
You know, I think Mandalorian was fun because I mean I grew up in the '70s, so by default I'm a Star Wars kid. Although I do carry the banner of being an Indiana Jones kid before a Star Wars kid, so I cannot wait for Part 5. So But what
well, you know the ending of it, right?
Part 5?
Yeah, he does a dig and he finds a Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
So
it's going to be it's going to be a huge mind mess with everybody. But no, I think that Book of Fett was good. I think that it felt to me as a writer, because I can never just watch anything, right? When you watch something and you're a writer, you're picking apart every freaking line. You're picking apart the story as it goes. You just can't shut it off. And it felt to me like towards the end of the Book of Fett, it felt like a room of executives somewhere said, you know what, we need to focus more on Mandalorian. We need to pick up the Yoda baby sales, and we need to really get that back on everybody's radar. And it just seemed like they took it away from Boba Fett, and like the last 3 episodes were like from the Mandalorian, which I thought was a shame. Because I really liked the storyline until we got the stupid hover motorcycles and that gang. I'm sorry.
That was ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't like that.
If being inclusive and diverse means bringing stupid young adults with like bad cyborg parts plugged onto their heads into the story, I'd rather have it not be diverse, Disney. So no, that was groaning, and the problem with the motorcycles that they had, they didn't look like they were part of the Star Wars universe. They looked like they came from our universe.
They look like Vespas.
They look like something that came from the motorcycle chase at Knott's in the 70s, 60s and 70s, and it was not good. But it felt to me like somebody somewhere said, no, let's get the marketing push back on Mandalorian. And it kind of like switched over into Mandalorian Part 2.5, it felt like to me. But I hope Obi-Wan's going to be great. Again, you can't go wrong if you bring Vader into it, or at least you have to really try to mess it up. So are you guys going to go to Celebration at all, speaking of Disney?
No. Are you?
I'm not. Here's the funny thing. So, yeah, I helped create and I run a really large-scale convention. I don't like conventions because I don't like big groups of people. So the funny thing is, right? But the funny thing is, when you're running it and it's showtime, everything goes by in such a blur, and you're backstage most of the time, and it goes by so fast that it's not like just mulling around a convention center for a weekend. It goes by so incredibly fast that literally the only way that I really get to go back and relax and enjoy Midsummer are in the weeks and months that follow when I look at people's YouTube videos online, to be honest with you. So, but no, so I wouldn't go to Celebration. I'm a Star Wars fan, but I'm not that big of a Star Wars fan, I wouldn't. There are some things going on. And the really funny thing, I was listening to another podcast, I think it was Parks and Cons, and Ken, you're going to relate to this. Sean was talking about how at some of the hotels they do room hopping, where you can go into the rooms and people have all their Star Wars stuff laid out on their beds that you can buy and all that. And it was really funny because I know that Sean was not here in California and he was not around for the old Disneyana shows, right? Where we would go into the hotel, and we're talking decades ago. This had to have been, early 90s, I think, right? Where we would go room hopping to the different rooms and you'd go into these rooms and they would be like the Disney archives just exploded in every room. And there was everything from buttons to pins to, stuff that, people shouldn't have, costumes and, stuff like that.
Right.
And so it was really funny to hear Sean talking about the room hopping at Celebration. Whereas I don't do any conventions, so I don't know that that's a thing anymore. But I've always remembered that from those old Disney convention days, that was the best part, was going from room to room and buying things. So that's very interesting to me.
All right. Well.
See, I brought it to a complete standstill. What else is going on? What else is going on at the parks that you guys are excited about? Come on.
The subs are coming back. So
yeah,
they are. I haven't been on that in a while, and it's going to be No, I'm going to take that back. I was going to say, I wonder if people are going to think twice about going on that now because of being in confined.
There's always going to be some, there's always going to be somebody who's
we're going back to normal because look, here's the thing. Wearing the masks and socially distancing and having to think about every single situation that you're in, whether it's in a bus or a subway or a train or an airplane or a sub at Disneyland, being that aware of your surroundings like that and having your skin crawl and all that, that's not normal. What we've been through the past 2 years, that's not normal. Wearing a mask, wearing a mask to the store, wearing a mask to the movie theater, that's not normal. So we are going to get back to normal. People say, "Oh, I don't know." No, we're going to get back to normal because humans we're social animals. We're social animals, and it's too hardwired into us not to do these things. And I think that once people kind of gradually slide back into that comfort zone, this will be quickly forgotten. Granted, it's been a huge life-altering event for all of us in one way or the other. But what we will get back is to normal. So I take that back. People are going to pack the subs, and they are going to ride this thing, and they're going to enjoy it. And I think it'll be great to have that back online. Look, the more Disneyland stuff that can come back online, and hey, I'm looking forward to see the Runaway Railway. I think that's pretty cool. I'm curious to see what they're doing in Toontown. That's really cool to me.
Right.
So,
I'm surprised. I mean, until they made the announcement that Runaway Railway was going to go there, I thought Toontown might be on the way out.
Well, there was a lot of speculation when they were bringing in Galaxy's Edge as to what was going to happen, in Toontown in that area. And I know that there was speculation of what was going to happen with the Roger Rabbit ride and all that stuff. It is one of those things where Disneyland is constantly evolving and changing. My bone to pick comes when they replace something with something subpar, or they don't replace it at all. With something. That's where it really gets me going. But I'm the guy that even though I work in the industry, I haven't watched any videos really of Runaway Railway, so I still don't know. I haven't watched any flow through videos or anything like that. I listen to podcasts where people talk about it, and they talk about whether they like it or not or whatever. So I understand what it is fundamentally, but I haven't sat and watched videos on YouTube about it. I don't. So I look forward to the day when that does open and we can go check it out. I think that'll be fun. Look, Disneyland is wonderful, and Disneyland is obviously a part of my DNA, just like it's part of your DNA, because the three of us, we've all had our own experiences as well as our collective experience, as being cast members at Disneyland. And we're part of a fraternity, right? Forever for fraternity. Mm-hmm. And, we love the place, and we will always love the place. And it doesn't matter how maddening they make it or what CEO decides that they're going to do this way and the other CEO decides they're going to do it this way. CEOs, CEOs come and go.
Yep.
God, let's hope some of them faster than others. But,
Yes.
But not saying any names, Bob Chapek. But I just, it's going to take a lot to run Disneyland so far down that we just don't want to ever go again. Right now, it's very challenging, and I think it's just because life has shown us all that there is much more to just hanging out at home and being with your loved ones and the people that matter, and being happy and not having to worry about making reservations for everything. I think that coming out of COVID, I think that we're the fan base, because now we're part of the fan base. We're ex-cast members or whatever, and we may know more about the park than your average person. But, at the end of the day, we're fans, and we're part of the fan base. I think the fan base is pretty resilient, and I think the fan base still is in love with the park. And I'm talking about the real fan base. I'm not talking about the people that bum rush and buy all the electrical parade equipment, merchandise, so they can put it on eBay, and make money off of it. To me, that's not fandom. That's just dumb. the real OG fans that understand what Disneyland is and have had a lifelong love affair with Disneyland and the attractions for whatever reason. We're resilient, and the park is resilient. And like I said, people will come and go. Policies will come and go. And hopefully at the end of the day, the truth will out. I mean, Walt said that, right? The truth will out, and people will be heard, hopefully.
Right.
I mean, the longer we wait, the faster these younger fans work their way into the company and into management, and finally we're going to have people in management that hopefully one day get it. Because right now it seems like they're really detached from, and that's a lot of companies, man. That's not just Disneyland, but I mean we're talking Disney, but it seems like the company is so out of touch with the fans these days that it's kind of boggles the mind. But I do hope I'm trying to end this on a positive spin. I do think that at the end of the day, whenever the day does come to its end, that we're going to be able to look back on these hard times and go, yeah, that really sucked, or that was an exercise in stupid. But that things will have righted themselves, and Disneyland will kind of brush itself off and be what it's always been for us. I mean, hopefully. I mean, I want that for generations to come. I don't want it to be something that's just such a chore and such a pain for people to go to that it becomes kind of like almost like a punishment rather than something to be excited about, right? So that's my 2 cents, and my fingers are crossed, and I mean,
it's got to be more than 2 cents now. It's going to be more than 2 cents because we've had inflation. So
don't remind me, Ken.
That's your 3 cents.
Yeah,
I do think that we were complaining a lot in the beginning, and a lot of our listeners probably agreed. But I think we wouldn't be complaining if we didn't care. And I think that's what you were trying to say. It's like we love the park, we care, and that's why we're frustrated with some of the things we see that we don't like.
Well, sure, and I think that we get upset. So here's the deal. When I say we, I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about you, me. I'm talking about Ken. I'm talking about anybody that's been listening and nodding along, going, "Oh my God, yes." Right. I think that we get upset about this stuff because we understand that at the end of the day, Disneyland doesn't have to be complicated. It was set up and it worked for decades just the way it was supposed to. You pay to get in, you go under the tunnel, here you leave today and you step into a world that Walt and those that he brought up with him, they could see decades into the future about pirates, about Peter Pan's ride, about kids driving their first cars, about a space mountain, about a snowman in a Matterhorn. They saw all these things, and it was all adventure, and it was all waiting to be discovered. Walking from land to land without a plan, with your family, with your girlfriend, with your friends, not on an app, not in your bed, not in your room 4 weeks before you go, 3 months before you go. You're supposed to be in the moment. Disneyland is timeless, but it's supposed to be experienced in the moment, and that's what's missing right now. And that is, I guarantee you there are people listening right now going, yes, 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 a million times yes, because that is exactly what all of us collectively are missing. And after going through all this COVID crap, and some of us still going through this COVID crap, why can't something in the world just be fun and easy? I think that we all want that these days.
Well, Rick, I think we could keep going and going. We're going to have to have you back.
We'll have to have you back. Yeah. Maybe sometime we can mix you with Jim Korkis, but then you probably wouldn't get a word in edgewise. So.
Oh, dude, you know what? I just, I wouldn't want to do that because I wouldn't want to waste a Jim Korkis episode because I want to hear him talk. I unfortunately have to listen to myself talk all the time. So I would much rather listen to Jim and the other people that you have. It doesn't matter whether it's Jim or it's a cast member. I loved your talks with Ray about how he worked the custodial department and became a manager and then went over and went to Japan and all these places. I love listening to all these folks, and it's just because we're part of this fraternity. Like you can listen as a fan to what it was like to be a cast member, but boy, to know what it was like walking from wardrobe past the in-between, out into the park and then down to the deck for lunch and all that stuff. just when you hear these folks talking about that and that they did the same things that you did decades before, it's just so cool. I love it. I love it so much, man.
Well, cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Rick. Really
and everybody needs to check out Midsummer Scream if you haven't. If that sounds like it's up your alley at all, check it out and check out any of the related events because I know you had one during the close to the holidays.
We do. Thanks, Ken. We do. We have, and that's Season Screamings, and that will be the first weekend in December, and that's at the Pasadena Convention Center. So that's our small Christmas meets Halloween and horror event, and that's again Season Screamings, and then of course Midsummer Scream, which is the mothership. That is the last weekend in July this year. All the information, tickets, all the information are at midsummerscream.org, and we're on all the socials at Midsummer Scream. And thank you guys for asking about that. And look, there's something for everybody at Midsummer. God knows everywhere you turn there's Haunted Mansion stuff. So awesome. People, come on down if you want. We have over 325, I think it may be more than that now, vendors on our show floor, which is a massive show floor. And everywhere you turn, there's like Disneyland goth stuff. There's weird takes on Disney attraction stuff. There's tons. Every bit of Haunted Mansion merch you can imagine, is available there, whether it's legit or fan produced or whatever. And it's for everybody. I mean, we have a kids area. We have, there's literally something for everybody at Midsummer. So come on out and have a wonderful time with us. We'd love to have you guys.
All right. Well, that is the conclusion of 334. Wow.
That was quite the episode. But I enjoyed both the current events with chatting, and I also enjoyed catching up with Rick and getting his opinions on how things are going now.
Yeah, for sure.
His experiences, And I checked out, I went back to the Midsummer Scream website, and it is, that event looks just like it's going to be so sweet.
Awesome.
If you have any interest in any of that kind of thing, and you can make it to Long Beach, California, you should check it out, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll definitely have Rick back sometime. Maybe. Probably.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about like working the mansion and the canoes and all that, whatever he can remember.
Yeah, we need to do it. It's been a few years. We need to have him back before the end of this year again, for sure. Let's see. So if you want to leave a review, you can leave it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you leave a review, but we only read the Apple Podcast ones. That's just the app I use, and I read those, and it seems to be the most popular one. If you leave a review on another place where they allow it, let me know. Maybe copy and paste the review and send it to thesweetspot@gmail.com, and I will read it on our show. But we need reviews because they help spread the word. If you're listening to this right away, again, we'll be at Disneyana. That's on Sunday the 15th. There's a banner on our website, thesweetspot.com. You can find out all the info on it, but we will both be there with our books and buttons. We also have another event. It's later this year, but I just thought we'd throw it out there. We will be at the D23 Expo again, and that's in September. I believe it's like the 9th, 10th, and 11th of September. So there will be more on that as it gets closer, but I think tickets are selling fast, so I guess if you don't have a ticket yet, you need to get it. But we will be there all 3 days. Anything else here?
Just spread the word.
Yeah.
Let people know how they can find the podcast if they're at all interested in what's going on now at Disneyland or what's happened in the past. Because some people are only interested in the past, and so that's fine. But as I said, but let them know how easy it is to listen to the podcast so that they can enjoy it too. It really helps the show. The more people we get listening.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll talk with you next time.